Welcome to the award-winning Cincy PostCast. I'm Kevin Wallace, and before we get into today's episode, I got to tell you about our friends over at Streetside Brewery, our favorite friends who just recently celebrated their 8th birthday. Shout out to everybody who was able to make it out there to celebrate with them. And a huge thank you to Jim, Trace, and the makers for giving the place some nice atmosphere on a lovely Saturday before FC Cincinnati. Look, it is an awesome place. If you haven't been, please go check them out. Streetside over in the Columbia Tusculum neighborhood on Eastern Avenue. It is an awesome place. They're making some awesome beers there. They have a style for every single person. And when you are there, tell them the Cincy Postcast sent you. They will knock $1 off of your beer for each beer. It is a great deal. And all you got to do is admit in public that you've listened to the Postcast. So, if you don't have any dignity, take a couple bucks off of your bar tab there. But a huge thank you to Streetside for sponsoring this episode. Congratulations on 8 years, Streetside. And thank you, listener, for using that code over at Streetside. Oh, and today's episode is a very, very unusual one. We recorded live on Discord immediately following the match. So the second that the whistle blew, we jumped on Discord and we had a pretty good turnout of folks who wanted to join and listen. Keep an eye out, keep an ear out for the next time we do one of these. But throughout this, you will see us referencing people making comments in the chat. And then, of course, we were able to have people come and call in, offer their thoughts, offer their feelings. So this is a good group therapy session here. At the very end, we offer a couple of predictions of Orlando, touch on some FC Cincinnati news. It is very, very brief. But hey, after a loss, do what you can and try to enjoy a postcast. Joining me to talk about all of that and more, I've got two people ready to speak and smattering of others that are here to listen. We have gone live immediately following the wild 3-2 defeat of FC Cincinnati at the hands of NYCFC in New York Red Bull Arena. Chief, does this in some way, shape, or form, some small part, count as a continuation of the Red Bull rivalry?
I mean, obviously. I think the building... we're rivals with the building, too. It's not just the team. It's also the building.
Yeah.
I want to point out, though, before we get any further on this, could tonight feel any more like 2020? Here we are. Oh. We're all on, video, voice chat. God. We just watched a sporting event in a stadium with 20 people on the inside where you could hear the players. You could hear Guido talking to the team. I was getting COVID flashbacks, man, and I'm about to go, vote in an election with Donald Trump's on the ballot. Like, shit's just the same. Oh, obviously, we are a pro Donald Trump podcast. Everyone knows this.
Yeah, we're the most mega FC Cincinnati podcast. Grayson, what is something from the pandemic you wish you could have brought back for tonight only?
Zero interest on student loans.
There we go. You know what I was thinking the other day? Do you remember growlers? Where everyone would go to like breweries and they'd fill up growlers with beer. When's the last time anyone brought a growler to a brewery?
Or like to a party. Somebody shows up with a growler of beer.
I was cleaning out like this. I was cleaning out like a part like in the kitchen, and I have 5 growlers, and I was like, I don't want to throw them away, but also I don't ever foresee myself using them ever again.
I had like a really nice stainless steel one. It invested some money in that damn hobby.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden it was just like, oh, we just don't do that anymore. Oh, well.
No. Oh, that's true. Prent in the chat, Kevin and I met each other working at the Growler House.
Yeah.
So there you go. That was my life. Chief, what are the vibes like right now? How is this the lowest the vibes have been all season?
No, the vibes are unchanged for the past like couple of weeks. It's once again, here we find ourselves with a team that really doesn't have an identity, that you really can't point to any one thing this team is doing well right now. But you also can't unknow that this was a team and these were players that spent the better part of a month and a half over the summer and the early spring looking really good. And did Luka Orishano all of a sudden become a bad player? No. I mean, you got Yamil Assad out there tonight for extended minutes. He's looked mediocre since coming back from injury. He looked good earlier in the year. You know, you've got Lucho Acosta not looking still like himself. All the parts are there for this team to be good. They just aren't good right now. So I don't know if the vibes are changed. It's just frustrating, and the hour's getting a little late for them to figure it out.
I'm not a fan of the team doesn't have an identity thing. They have an identity. They're a bad team. They have 8 points in the last 10 games.
It's pretty bad.
You know, you can point to this thing or that other thing and some bad luck, but there's also choices that have been made, and you know, the play was bad. Like Matt Miazga's season-ending injury doesn't explain in the passing. So, you know, I don't know that there's a lot of useful things to say other than just they're a bad team right now. They don't have bad players. They were not always a bad team. And I guess there's no guarantee they're going to be a bad team by the end of the month. Although the longer that goes on, the more likely.
What is wrong with this team? Like, you know, they mentioned it on the broadcast. My buddy Sam, who I believe is in the audience here, messaged this as well. Like, this team won 6-1 versus Miami. That, yes, was missing Messi and Suarez, but 6-1, and the rest of their team was there. And this team has looked like a non-playoff team ever since then. Like, what happened?
I don't know. It's very difficult to figure out. I don't get the sense that this team has they don't have another way to play. And so they need to do everything perfectly playing their style in order to be successful. And it's just been off. The passing has been bad. I think that there's some aspect of it that they have switched lineups around so often that they really haven't ever found a playing style that works for them since they've been shuffling the lineups. I don't know. Like, I agree with Grayson. There's not like one thing you can point to that is the problem. I just think that it's been a lot of underachieving. And I think that, I don't know, this team needed to get better at the transfer window. They didn't. And it's almost like the air went out of the balloon on this team when they didn't get reinforcements at the deadline, like quality reinforcements at the deadline. I don't know. I'm open to suggestions from the crowd, though.
Yeah, right. I don't know, Grayson, how do you see it?
I think Lucha got mad when we made the anti-Messi chant in the 6-1 Miami, and he's been punishing us ever since.
I hate that it lines up.
Almost too neatly, in fact.
Yeah. Well, hey, I'm gonna read the lineup here, and then if people want to sound off, I'm gonna say go ahead and use the raise hand feature. I'll bring you on, give us a question, give us a comment, and we'll go from there. But just for the sake of having I don't know the lineup spoken out loud. Maybe somebody isn't ever watching a single game and is only following FC Cincinnati via the PostCast, which is a really funny way to follow a team. This is what was rolled out to start the game. It was Roman Celentano in goal. It was teenage Hadebi making his debut at left center back, Miles Robinson in the middle, and Alvis Powell. As I debut,
he was
hopefully that's
a teenage debutante, if you will.
He was a teenage debutante. Hopefully that is what is on his Topps card when they steal the little strip off of his uniform. Luca Orishano was the left wing back, DeAndre Yedlin the right wing back, Wabodo and Buka, your holding midfielders with Lucho Acosta ahead of them. And the PostCast got its wish. It was Kubo and Kelsey up top to start the game. That is how it started. It is not even close to what it ended up with, but yeah, I don't know if anybody wants to speak. Now would be a good time. Go ahead and use the raise hand feature. But while we wait for that, I don't know. Chief, thoughts when you saw the lineup?
I was excited for the lineup. I mean, this is kind of what we wanted to see. We wanted to see Kubo and Kelsey up top. You wanted to see teenage Hadebi to see, what there was there in terms of they brought him in. They can't keep repeating this enough. They've signed him for next year. So that's another sort of through line that I suspect we'll be talking about a lot over the course of the next couple of weeks, is that there are a lot of players on this team that are coming back next year. There are a lot of contracts already signed for the 2025 season. Hadebi's going to be here next year. Yedlin's going to be here next year, I believe. Robinson, he's under contract for next year. There is a lot. Buka's under contract for next year. I don't know. It's I thought the lineup would be a lot better than it was. Maybe that's me being naive. I liked the lineup. I liked how they had people deployed. It's just not working. And it's not working on a number of different facets. And unfortunately, they don't have the depth to try something different, which is also frustrating.
Yeah.
You can say it's naive to expect it to be better, right? But, the management of the team should know more about the roster than anybody. And so, they either thought at the end of the window that it would be better than it's been, or they kept some really, really big secrets from everybody,
Yeah. Well, let's bring in Adam here to share his thoughts. Adam, hey, how you doing, man?
Well, I guess I'm as good as everyone else who just watched that mess of a game. My quick reaction, and I'm really curious to hear your all's thoughts, not to play the sort of body language police, but two individuals on the team did not seem terribly interested in competing. Kevin Kelsey, I thought, looked frustrated, took too many touches, took at least one selfish shot that I saw from the broadcast. And as much as I will, die for Lucho Acosta, when he would lose the ball, man, he was not getting back. And those two things really gave the impression maybe this team didn't come out hoping to or intending to win. Maybe I'm reading too much into it. And obviously I'm only watching on TV and I'm not there watching the players. But those two kind of stood out to me as not bringing as much intensity as we usually see, especially from Lucho.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Kelsey looks like that sometimes. I've just noticed this about Kevin Kelsey, is Kevin Kelsey, even when he is competing and hustling, he's kind of there isn't a lot of up and down to the way Kevin Kelsey looks. He's kind of got a little bit of like the who was the coach of the Indianapolis Colts that was just the meme of him on the sidelines, his expression not changing. Jim Caldwell. He's got a little bit of Jim Caldwell to him in terms of his just the way he reacts to things. Even when he is balling out, he still has a very, very similar expression to when he comes on at the first part of the match. Lucho wears his heart on his sleeve. You always know what Lucho's thinking at all times. I don't think Lucho would be a tremendously good poker player for that reason. But you can tell this team is frustrated. And I mean, this is a team that a lot of these guys won Shield last year. This was a team, like Kevin said, where they beat the brakes off Miami 6-1. And then, like Grayson said, it's 9 points out of 30 since then?
Yeah.
Out of a possible 30? The body language isn't out of 30. I'm sorry, 8 points out of 30, even worse. The body language isn't great. I'd be kind of worried if it was, given how bad things are. I don't know. I think frustration is probably apparent. I don't know what the answer is. I think that the part of the problem is that, I like Pat Noonan, and I don't want this to come off as a anti-Pat Noonan, anti-coaching staff thing. But part of this is on the coaching staff to figure this out. And, to try different things, to do different things, to get this team in a position to succeed. There's a lot of talent here. And you just, you get the sense that there's frustration with the fact that nothing is working right now. So, the body language isn't great, but I don't know. I'd be kind of worried if it was.
Yeah, that's a great point, right? You don't want to see them joking and goofing around at the same time with the results going the way that they are. But yeah, I mean, one, it's just very Cincinnati to want effort, and I don't say that disparagingly. I think it's weird that other cities don't want their guys to be hustling. So it is. It is frustrating to see that.
And for whatever you want to say about Lucho Acosta's body language, which he was visibly upset multiple times. There were multiple times where I think he was upset he didn't get a call or that something didn't go the way he wanted, and he was not in a hurry to truck back defensively. But I give him credit in this regard. Didn't quit fighting. Even in extra time, he is, getting after it. The Kelsey shot, that was a selfish shot. Kevin Kelsey is such an interesting thing here. He comes from Shakhtar Donetsk, and I think everyone, us included, expected Kevin Kelsey to be a much bigger contributor this year than he was. And I don't know that we'll ever find out. Maybe we will at some point find out if he's on a minutes limit or on a pitch count or something like that. But, I would be very curious to know what Kevin Kelsey thinks of his loan here at FC Cincinnati. Yerson Mosquera has nothing but good things to say about his time here. I think Wolves have nothing good things to say about his time here because Mosquera was a starter basically since the moment he arrived here and was a huge contributor to a Supporters Shield winning team. Does Kevin Kelsey think that this loan has been beneficial to him? We're getting to the point in the year where, if he thinks that this year was a wasted development year for him because he didn't see the field as much as he wanted to, he's young. I wouldn't be shocked if he's being outward in his frustration over his playing time. I don't know. It's these guys are human, and I would be very curious to get inside the mind of Kevin Kelsey and know what he's thinking about his time in Cincinnati, because I don't think it's been what any of us thought it would be, especially after he came out of the gate screaming with those first couple of goals.
Yeah, you add in there, the conversations would be ongoing, I'd imagine, at this point as to what FC Cincinnati is thinking about doing next year. At the very least, there's a vibes check with his agent in FC Cincinnati. Hey, are we thinking I have a role to play next year? Are we thinking I come back? And maybe those conversations aren't going the way he wants, and maybe the effort is reflective of that. I don't know. It's a tough one. We'll bring in Redbeard here to offer up thoughts, feelings, questions, whatever they may be. Redbeard, if you can hear me, I've invited you to speak.
Yes,
there we are.
Sorry, I had to accept and then unmute as well. So there was good news tonight. Columbus lost. Bad news.
Love
It
that.
was to Miami.
Love that.
They've now clinched the Shield.
But look, they clinched the Shield on Columbus's home turf.
I
hope
know.
that- I hope
Best
they celebrated
possible
that.
way they could have done it.
Yeah, no, that makes me happy.
So the natural questions, since we currently hold the Shield, are in the very little time we have left with it, what would you like to do with the Shield as a send-off? And what would you, if you had the option, include in the shipping crate as a gift to Miami's fans when they open it up?
Ooh.
I assume the Shield is gone.
Yes, I can
I assume
confirm
it
that
went up to Columbus.
Yeah, I can confirm that the Shield went to Columbus tonight.
Wow.
For Inter Miami.
Oh,
Now,
bummer.
I know it's a bummer.
Didn't it take a week for us to get it last year?
Yeah, I think that that was because it was in Los Angeles and had to be basically mailed to Cincinnati. I would love to start a tradition where it is delivered. I think that is way better than putting a trophy like this in, UPS. I think that's ridiculous. But since it was in Columbus, or since Miami was in Columbus and could clinch, the decision was made that would be hand delivered up to Columbus to Inter Miami. Now, if you really want to go inside the bit and go real soccer nerd, the Supporters Shield is awarded by the ISC, the Interplanetary Supporters Council, that governs all of supporters groups and supporters culture. And when you think about the gatekeepers that tell you you're being a fan the wrong way, the ISC are the people that tell you you're being a fan the wrong way. And so they're the people that run the Supporters Shield Trust. And in order to have control and custody of the Supporters Shield as a supporters group, you have to be registered through and a part of and a member of the ISC. And a funny thing about Inter Miami's supporters group, suspiciously, they all sort of came into existence at around the same time with very, very similar branding and websites that were all designed by a company that was suspiciously connected to MLS and Inter Miami itself. So all those supporters groups in Miami, pretty open secret that it was groups that were astroturfed by the league and by Inter Miami to create a supporters culture down there. And so none of their supporters groups are members of the ISC for that reason. So none of them can actually hold the Shield. So my understanding is the Shield is being awarded to Inter Miami tonight, the team, and then it's coming back to Cincinnati and it will stay here with our supporters groups. But I think there's a pretty universal understanding that it's now Miami's trophy, so it's not going to be displayed. We're not going to be taking pictures with it. It's not going to go on the march anymore. But they can't have it down in Miami because none of them are independent at this time.
That is incredible.
That's glorious.
Yeah, that's pretty funny, actually. As what I would want to include on the inside of the crate. I would just dump, 30 cans of Skyline and then seal the motherfucker up real tight, tape the edges up. And then when they open the case back up, it's just drowning in Cincinnati chili.
I was going to say Big Stein had a great suggestion in the comments. Just tape the MLS roster rules to the back of the supporters shield.
This is probably a good time to mention. We joked around with this idea that we would shoot a video where it appears that we were melting the shield down to make a different trophy and then just start circulating it on social media to see how many people lose their mind.
There's still time. I mean, if it's going to be just hanging out in Cincinnati somewhere, Chief, I think you have a right to hold that. So I think we could pull that off.
I'm also in Dutch if something happens to it too, I think.
Well, thank you, Redbeard. We're going to bring in Prent, who has been waiting very patiently to speak on this one.
Hey guys,
Print,
can you
how
hear
you
me?
doing, man? Oh yeah.
Oh, doing well. Chief,
Hi.
you originally brought this up a while ago, and then Kevin touched on it too. But Chief, your original point was you don't want to blame Noonan, but we had a great lineup tonight, or at least a pretty good lineup. But vibes are not good right now. Kevin, you talked about that too. As a coach, you know, you want to change something up. You want to take the team bowling. You want to do something to change up the vibes. So as a coach, if Noonan wanted to go in the locker room and rap for the team, you know, what rap song do you
Oh,
think he
God.
would do all the lyrics for in total, verbatim? If you had to pick a rap song for Noonan to raise the vibes, what would it be?
Where the Hood At by DMX.
Can he do that? I don't know those lyrics.
Read the first 5 or 6 lines and you'll see what a terrible idea that would be. I'm not going to repeat them on here, but the song is certifiably a banger.
Fair enough. What else could you do besides
Anything by P. Diddy.
Okay.
Obviously.
Jesus. we've devolved to P. Diddy in the first 30 seconds of my question. Okay.
Yeah, I think something technically impressive would really rally the troops. So I'm thinking like Bombs Over Baghdad
Ooh, good one.
by Outkast. It's like really impressive if he can do it.
Anything by
Well-
Twista, I think, would also play in this space.
What was the alphabetic one that like
going
Harry
crazy.
Potter did? Kevin, you know what I'm talking about, don't you?
What was this?
It's the alphabetic one where David Ratcliffe does it on a late night TV show. He goes letter by letter A, B, C, but the words all rhyme. Don't know what I'm talking about?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't. I'm sorry. I let you down
Okay.
there.
All good.
Grayson,
I
what's
think
your
that they
answer?
need- I think they need to play a little more relaxed. I think is the problem is they have too much tension. They're feeling too much pressure. So I'm going Crazy Rap by Afro Man.
Nothing wrong with
Crazy
that.
rap.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I don't know that one. I know she won't
Will you-
let me.
Grayson, will you sing it first, please?
If there's a bull standing behind you, blink twice.
It's the one about the Colt 45 and the 2 zigzags.
Oh, yeah. No, that's a great
That's
choice.
called Colt 45. Yeah.
I don't. Okay.
Yeah. But
It wasn't
he,
a-
There's
It was a
literally
Broadway
no
song.
way to know.
he also can't rap that verbatim though either. So all right. Well,
I think what
thanks,
they really
fellas.
need to do. I think what they really need to do to sort of like, you know, vibes are low, and like I think the problem with this team right now is that they're a little high strung. They are a little. They're caught up in the roles they play in the team. So, what better way to sort of learn to think outside the box, relax, have some fun with their friends? I'm thinking giant all-team game of Dungeons and Dragons. What are you guys saying?
We'll get Sarah to DM for them.
Yeah.
They'll love it.
Kubo, we already have a character for you, okay?
we have one for Bupenza, but you know somebody else can fill in.
Roll a d20 for a backflip.
Damn. A gigantic game of D&D would
30-person
be
game of
chaos.
Dungeons and Dragons.
Just utter chaos.
Nightmare blunt rotation right there.
Let's bring in our next victim here, Cincy Luga. You've been requested to speak. In the meantime, man, I don't know, but the vibes around this team need something different. And I see a lot of people in the comments suggesting, you know, like a Ted Lasso style. You know, everybody writes down their deepest, darkest secret and burns it in a barrel fire or something.
They have a 2-week break coming up. They could do ayahuasca. I believe there is a church in Kentucky that can provide it.
Ooh.
I mean, somebody's suggesting right here, Kyle Lukel in the chat saying there's a dispensary close to MHTC if the team needs to chill out. You know what? Honestly, I don't think there's a bad suggestion right now. I think all suggestions are valid right here. Goat Yoga, KP is suggesting. Mike MC, need to bring in a support animal, a baby sheep or a goat or something cute. You know what? I'm reading these out of the chat. I feel like, hey, we got a $1.99 super chat right here saying more like MTHC. Am I right? Thank you, Sanders Z. Hey.
Hey.
I think we have a request to speak.
We do, from the Killer Angel, or the one Killer Angel. Excuse me. I don't want to take away your one.
You're a fan over here.
Is that a what fan here?
The Killer, Jeff Shara. Oh, Michael Shara. My bad.
Yeah, it's the first person I've seen who's gotten that reference. So thank you.
Great book.
I get the two confused. Jeff and Michael.
So I wanted to talk about Kevin Kelsey because, Chief mentioned earlier that he hasn't been as much of a contributor as we've thought, but I looked up his stats per 90, and he's actually the number one striker in terms of goals per 90 at 0.45. The only one on the team with a higher number is Lucho with 0.46, and the next highest is Kubo with 0.39. So I think he's been really good in terms of efficiency, but he hasn't been played a lot lately, especially since Nico came in. So what are your thoughts on him and his changing role now that Nico's come in?
I don't get it. I haven't gotten it. I don't understand how Kevin Kelsey's been used. I don't think we've ever had a satisfactory explanation to me. Not to me, like as in nobody's explained it to me, but just to my estimation, I don't think we've received a satisfactory explanation from the coaching staff as to what exactly the plan with Kevin Kelsey is or was. Everything indicated to me that this was going to be a player, or seemed to me that this was going to be a player that was going to be a starting, pencil him in. He needs minutes to develop, that this is going to be a similar situation as Yerson Mosquera. And I think he's been very good when he's been on the field. I like what I see from him. Even when he's not scoring goals, I like his hold-up play. I like his commitment to getting back and playing defense. I think he's played incredibly well, given how poor this team has been at providing good service and crosses into the box. This team's atrocious at providing dangerous balls into the 18-yard box. It's just bad. So given all that, I think he's played great. I'm not disagreeing on that. If I were running this team, and thank God I'm not, he would be the penciled in starter every week and would have been since he got here. I don't know. If there's a plan for him, I don't see it. And it's to the point now where how can you justify picking that option up at $7 million? I don't know. So maybe Grayson is smart. He knows what's going on. Maybe
I have no idea what's going on. I think the stat is the stat. He's, I think he's been fine. He's looked really good at times and looked not so good at times. Did he make some mistakes today? Yeah, but he at least was in positions to be involved, which you haven't seen from like Nico consistently, for example. Like when Nico came out last game, he had touches and I think no touches in the box.
Yeah, completed or attempted 3 passes, connected 2 of them.
And so, I would like Kelsey to do better. I have not seen a convincing better option on the roster.
The other thing too with Kelsey is he's a young player. He's a kid. He's a U22. He's 19 years old. Like
he's 20 now, but
right,
yeah.
So he's 20 now.
He turns 20 this.
So,
Yeah.
so to me, I don't understand why he's not going to get better on the bench. If there was a plan to bring him in and to pick up an option at the end of the year, and who knows, maybe when that option was set at $7 million, at that point, the decision from Noonan and Albright was, well, we're never paying that. So we'll get him over here and we'll get what we can out of him. But there ain't no sense in he's not here for the long term. And they're viewing him very similar to Joe Aquini, where $7 million means.
What you have to remember, what you got to remember about the option is reported that the reasoning behind the $7 million, and he got this directly from somebody, that the reasoning behind the $7 million was, Shakhtar wanted a high option and the team was fine with it because, you can always negotiate the option down. Shakhtar would have no ability to the option up if he did really well.
Right.
So it does sound like they never had the intention of spending $7 million on him, but they thought, if he does well, we'll negotiate something that works for everybody.
Could that be could that be a bargaining tactic to limit his minutes so that there's kind of ammunition to negotiate that price down if they decided they wanted him earlier in the season?
Yeah, but if Shakhtar felt like you were doing that, it'd be a great way to sour your bargaining partner.
Right.
But
or
not want to deal with you.
Shakhtar also liked what they saw and are going to stick to the $7 million.
And also, with that too, it's who are you hurting at the end of the day but yourself? If he's good and you believe in him, then you want him on the field scoring goals, and then you'll figure out the financial part on the back end. If it was a choice between, hey, we get to pay a smaller price for this striker and get him next year, or we win more games this year, I'm choosing games this year, because if he's really that good and you're trying to sort of hide that, he's not going to be here that long anyway next year if he's that good.
Yeah, maybe a good example would be Mosquera last year. Early on, we all recognized oh shit, he's that good. But then what if Noonan decided he'll play him for a quarter of the minutes that he did ultimately last year because there was some small chance we could keep him this year? That would have been a terrible idea. We needed a full strength Mosquera to be as good as we were last year. And even if that meant you only got one season of him, so be it. That was worth the risk. And especially in the sport of soccer, these guys don't stick around forever anyway. I think similarly, if it just becomes a case of Kelsey, if we want him, it's going to cost us $7 million next year. I still think if he is the best option, you run him out every single year. And I really hope there isn't some weird gamesmanship happening to try to get a slightly better deal. Oh, by the way, for budgeting purposes, he could pay $80 million for Kevin Kelsey. It doesn't matter. The U22 transfer fee doesn't count. It would only be on his salary. So
there's another possibility that I want to throw out. And this is also speculative, but something that would make sense and I think be more justifiable than being worried about triggering the purchase option is if there's also in his contract some kind of salary escalator where if he scores 15 goals or plays 80% of the minutes, his salary goes up above that max salary budget charge, meaning he can't be a U22, so you'd have to use a DP slot on him. That type of thing would make sense to me. But it's also hard. I don't really see a good reason why he hasn't been used as much as he could have been used based on what we know publicly. But we don't see training, we don't see his interactions with coaches. For all we know, the second he showed up, Bupenza started partying and, he was the main instigator and all that or something.
I like that theory.
There's maybe he's the underage drinking that's getting Rasconi shut down. I don't know. But there's I guess like the contract stuff makes sense just based on what kinds of things are often found in contracts in these situations, and knowing that, even though they have the ability to spend as much money as they want on the transfer fee, there is, I think, pretty much confirmed by the article this summer about what they tried to do, that there is like a transfer bucket and like a finite amount. So like whatever that money is, Kelsey's transfer fee is going to come out of that.
Oh, and before we get to the next part of the episode, I do want to tell you about our friends over at Cincy Shirts. They have been with us from the beginning. They were one of the very first supporters of FC Cincinnati. They were our very first sponsor here at the Post. We absolutely love them. They have the best gear for all of your Cincinnati sports, Cincinnati memorabilia. You got a fun community that you're a part of. They probably have a relevant Cincy shirt for you on their website or in one of their 3 locations. They're in Oakley Hyde Park, they're in Loveland, and they're over in Fort Mitchell in Kentucky. Really, really good people. They will print on demand in their shop. If they have a design on their website that they are not, if they don't have stock in their store, they will print on demand for you. They are awesome. One thing that I promise you they will never have stock of, but absolutely do sell, are the Post shirts. They have shirts from us. We have made designs that are up on the website. You can find a link to them in the description of this episode. Go check them out in person, and if you tell them which design you want printed on a shirt right then and there, they'll do it for you. It's great, and I know it's great because I've been able to do it myself. Really good folks. And hey, while you're there picking up Post merch or Bengals merch or anything else, you drop this code, ThePostCincy, all one word, all caps, get 10% off your next order. Again, the promo code is ThePostCincy. 10% off your next order for anything from Cincy Shirts. It's an awesome, awesome deal. Click the link in the description below as well for links to our merch. Otherwise, a huge thank you to Cincy Shirts for sponsoring this episode. And thank you, listener, for using that code. It does feel like ownership has somewhere in the neighborhood of $30 million to spend, right? And Albright is given the freedom to decide where that 30 million is going, and that's where you get to the insanity of like, oh, maybe they might drop 25 million for Josh Sargent, and then they'll drop $1 million here, $1 million there for U22s and stuff like that, and go with that the 2 DP model. That is an interesting thought, though. I don't know. This game sucked. Was there anything positive to take out of this game? Is there anything? Corey Baird scored on a corner kick.
No, Corey Baird scored on like a scrum in the box, which like, cool.
I've been begging for a goal like that.
Same. I was about to say good in that, for the love of God, finally we get one of those where just chaos happens, a goal gets scored.
Corey Baird, agent of chaos.
I mean, maybe he's earned himself a start in the next match. Who knows?
I mean, sure. Him and Joe Keeney.
Yeah, the only striker combination we haven't seen up top is Baird and Joe Keeney, right?
We're due.
And the only one that scored tonight or produced goals when they were on the field. So
I want to circulate a memo to the Apple TV announce crews. Can we please stop just saying that Lucho Acosta has the right foot to do a good set piece delivery? Like, I'm begging someone to look up the success rate of Lucho. I love Lucho. I love everything he does. It's painful to watch him being close to success, but just not where he needs to be right now. He's been atrocious at set pieces since he got here. And every match I'm treated to at least 2 or 3 times where the announcer is like, oh, Lucho's so dangerous on these set pieces. My brother in Christ, when?
This crew in particular should not be saying that.
I feel like we've got
Higginbottom all of our games.
Like, I might just send him a DM on Twitter. It's like, I gotta know. Where is this coming from? I'm not even going to call you out publicly. I'm very curious if you can educate me as to where you think Lucho is delivering dangerous set pieces. Make me a smarter fan, please, if there's something there.
It's not even like he was known for free kicks before he got here and he just doesn't do them or something, right? He just never had it. I thought Yedlin played very well. I think it is very funny that DeAndre Yedlin is probably the best left center back on this roster based on how Teenage and Murphy played tonight.
Yeah, I guess.
That's a problem.
Yeah. Ian will look back on this game and think, you know what? I'd rather not.
Yeah. Look, it was a rough game for Ian, and I know there are lots of folks out there who do not like what he does. I'm usually an Ian defender. I will say, though, unlike him, no, that's mean. I will say there was his very first game with us, though, that we all wrote him off. And here he is. And he's been a very good contributor all season. When this team was good, when this team was bad, he's been a very good contributor. So rough night for Ian.
Ian started a lot of wins for this team.
Yeah.
Ian
And like, if you're going to be
was good enough last year to be on the field for he was good enough last year to be on the field for an MLS Cup champion. He just wasn't good enough when the good players weren't available.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess that's like sort of the big theme is that they've got a lot of players that just don't work together in this arrangement. And whether there's just this massive knock-on effect from Matt Miazga not being there, which thereby makes Ian Murphy worse, which makes Miles Robinson worse, which makes Nwobodo have to do something different, which makes the midfield. Soccer's a weak link sport. You've said that before, Kevin. And yeah, I don't know. I'm not going to dog on Ian. Because, I mean, it's a salary cap league. You have to have a few Ian Murphys on your team where they're not all stars, but they're good players that are occasionally capable of bad games. There's just no way around that in a league like this.
Now, potentially when the salary number and his extension comes out, you may have permission to dog on him.
I may choose to take that permission. All right. So
yeah,
to that end, are we seeing sort of a flaw with how Chris Albright builds teams this year? Because you look at this team, they have made the determination that they are going to invest a lot of the Tricky Don fun bucks into a lot of very good, but centralized. They're centralizing all the money, and so like you've got Miles Robinson, max TAM player. Matt Miazga, max TAM player. You've got high TAM players all over the pitch on this starting 11. And then you get to the bench and there's just not a lot left over. And so like when you do that, that's great when all your players are playing well and they're hitting and everything's firing on all cylinders. We saw that last year. But now when this team's, in need of something else, DeAndre Yedlin, TAM player. I'm trying to think who else. I think Pavel is a set max salary budget charge player, I think.
He is. But you got Kubo, who's over max salary. You've got Kevin Kelsey, who's probably over max salary.
But he's a U22, so that doesn't matter. But you've got Corey Baird is over max salary.
Pavel has a transfer fee. But they might be able to reduce that entirely this year with Brandon Vasquez's sale. So his transfer fee might not be hitting the budget like in a meaningful way or in any way like after this year. I mean, you don't know, but
I think the point is that just there's not a lot on the bench on this team to go to. Like we're talking about changing the vibes on this team. If you want to change the vibes in the midfield, what do you do? Like, if you're a decision and you're like, you know what? We need to give Obino Nwobodo some time off and see something different. There's nobody you can go to. Nobody they trust at any rate. They don't want to play Malik Pinto for whatever reason. Fine. But in that moment, there's no one that can push Swoboda to be better or to give you another look. You want to pull Pavel Bukov for some reason. There's no one that can push him. There's no one that can like do that and take his spot and like push him to be better or change the vibes. Just the roster is so limited, and they have so much on this roster tied up into center backs because the depth was just so challenged there, and strikers because they're desperately looking for anything that works. Everything else is just paper thin.
Yeah, I mean, you can't ignore those limited budget hit slots entirely, right? I mean, so the kind of budget controlled slots are DP, U22, and homegrown to some extent. And so like all of those come in below at or below the max salary budget charge and they don't use up any GAM, right? Or
right.
GAM or TAM to bring their charge down. So you have a bunch of players who are taking up a lot of salary. I think I counted like we had like 11 players, I want to say, on our roster profile who were categorized as TAM, and LAFC had, I think, 9. But LAFC also had, 2 very big time DPs and 3 extremely productive U22s. And we have one U22 who we barely use. Not barely use, but we don't use, we
don't get full deployment.
Not a big minutes eater. We have one big time DP, and then we have Obi, who's a really good player, but Obi's a TAM player, right? Like Obi going forward is going to be a TAM player, and he's a really good TAM level defensive midfielder who came at a time when we really, really needed his profile. And I don't want to minimize his contributions, but he's a TAM level player, not a big time DP level player. So we're not really getting, outside of Lucho, we're not getting real value out of these cap hit limited roster slots. And that can't continue if the team wants to have any depth. Certainly we can't wait until the academy to start producing at like a Philly level.
Yeah.
No.
And there's no guarantee that the academy will keep producing, like there isn't a club in the world. Right. But I mean, there isn't a club in a world that is just pumping out starter after starter.
I mean, in Mexico, there's a couple clubs like that. Pachuca comes to mind a little bit.
But what you'll get is like 2 or 3. Like you're not going to field an 11, and they're going to be spaced out awkwardly. Right. You'll get 3 all in the same age group. I mean, and then it'll be 7 years before 3 more show up.
That's a good point from Grayson, though. And I think it's worth repeating and just sort of, really drilling down on is that Lucho is a DP, and by all accounts, the last month and a half or 2 months has not been performing.
I forgot about Nico.
Of course, we forgot about Nico.
Son of a
bitch. But no, it stands. Lucho is a DP who is not producing to the MVP level you expect him to for whatever reason right now. Nico,
Lucho has more goal contributions this year than he had last year.
Oh yeah, and that's all 90% from being incredible the first half of the year. Like we were talking about it, the first half, he was having a better year to start the year than he was last year. He was on pace to have a better year. Until he started dealing with injuries. But you get beyond that, it's Nico, who probably is a bench player, if we're being honest. Swoboda, who is a TAM player that isn't playing near the level that we expected this year. And Kevin Kelsey, who starts about half the games and rarely goes the full 90. That's your premium roster spots right there. And we're competing with teams like Columbus, where Cucho and Diego Rossi alone clear the production we're getting from all of our premium roster spots. And that's tough. It's tough. This is the first year that FC Cincinnati has not gotten production at DP level from all of its DP spots.
Well, you say that.
So last year
the striker position.
Last year we didn't get full DP production from Brenner's / Boop's DP spot, although we got more from Bupenza, but you also had Vasquez, like being consistently dangerous, even though he didn't have as big of a year in pure goal scoring as he did in 22.
Right, but with Bupenza was started to provide that value down the stretch, where as you were getting towards clinching trophies and hitting the playoffs, they went into MLS Cup playoffs with all three DPs performing at DP level. And they had Barreal at U22 premium production in that roster spot right there. They got nothing right now in terms of DPs producing at DP level. The potential is there for a couple of them, but it's really hard to win in this league when you're not getting that kind of special production. And I don't know, when we write the postmortem on this season, I think part of the postmortem on this season was on full display tonight. And that's that in a match, in a midweek, in a low energy environment on the road, there was no one on this team that could do special things when this team needed special things to happen. And when you do that, you're going to lose. So Key in the chat says, I'm pretty far from worrying about DPs when we have trouble just passing the ball. I think these are related problems.
Preach.
Though. I think I think these are related problems, though. Is that when you don't have designated players that are difference makers and that, draw the center of gravity around them. Like when Lucho gets the ball, Lucho still has this respect level where people collapse around him and he shifts the actual center of gravity on the field as he moves. In an ideal world, the way this should work is there should be someone else on the field that is able to take advantage of that when Lucho has the ball. That second attacking or creative DP, a DP striker or another DP midfielder. And that's just not there for this team. Cucho has Diego Rossi that does that when he's on the field. There's a lot of teams like that. Messi and Luis Suarez on the field together create that as well. Gioacchini isn't that. Gioacchini isn't benefiting and isn't the player that can benefit from that fact. And so the passing, it gets all congested because no one on this team is they don't have those players that are drawing the respect level that are necessary to create passing windows, to create space. And some of this is on the team. Like they miss a lot of really easy passes. But when you watch this team play, defenses are on this team like sticking to players. Like nobody receives the ball cleanly because there's somebody on top of them all the time. Like the windows they have to pass through are so tight because there isn't anyone that really commands that respect on the defense or causes movement to happen in the defensive shape to respect what they're doing on the field. It just makes everything so much harder. And the way that manifests itself, I think, is that the passing looks bad.
Yeah, but at the same time, that is Orishana this year. Like, he's scored 10 goals. I think he's scored a goal in the last 5 games. Like, he's on a tear, and he laid an egg in this match. It was terrible.
I think the book's out on him on how to defend him. I think that if you look at a lot of the goals
early, he just didn't put it on frame. He had a great look.
He did.
Early
that cut back inside right at the end of the first half, I want to say. Yeah. I don't know. There's a lot wrong with this team right now. And I think if there was an easy answer, somebody else would have had it already.
Really, somebody else wants to talk
Yeah. If you'd like to request to speak, go for it. The phone lines are open, folks. So it doesn't even have to be a question or anything. Just you got a comment, you got a thought, a take on what's happening there.
749-7000, 1-800 the big one, pound 700 on your cellular telephone.
I mean, it maybe there is something to this as well. I like the depth being a bigger issue, that this team is just tired. Like, this team is beat. It's ground to a halt as the season has gone on. And that's kind of what happened last year as well. I don't know. Maybe something to think about going into next year. All right, we've got Grocky has requested to speak. Grocky, maybe you can teach me how to say your name.
That's exactly right. Grocky is correct.
Nice.
Nailed it. That's what I like to hear.
So, I mean, obviously with the team struggling as it is, I was just kind of wondering, like, what you guys thought, like, for next year. Like, how much of this team do you think will be back, and how much of the team do we want to have back next year?
Been thinking about this a lot, like a lot the last couple of weeks. Kevin, I've talked a lot.
A huge chunk of this team will be back next year. So you've got, I think Baird is under contract for another year. I think you've got the likely picking up of Orishano's option. You have Teenage, Miazga, Murphy, and Awazim definitely under contract. You have an option on Miles Robinson. You'll have Roman Celentano. Feels obvious, but you got to say it. Buka and Woboto are definitely under contract for next year. Lucho's under contract for next year. I think Yedlin is on a contract for next year. Grayson, I bet you're looking at the actual numbers here. I'm doing all of this off the top of my head.
I'm trying to pull it up, but
okay.
Yedlin is under contract next year, I know.
So I think it's Powell, Keller, Santos are all question marks for next year.
Luka, because
Robinson,
Luka would have to be the option. Kelsey would have to have an option picked up or bought.
Yeah, they would need purchased from their loans. And I suppose Robinson is a bigger question mark than we probably first expected at the beginning of the year, although plenty of people were saying he was a one and done regardless. But you do start to try to scratch your head and figure out how you keep Awazim, Robinson, Miazga, Teenage all on the same salary cap. I don't know.
Next year, I don't see how you bring back Corey Baird. I just don't see it. Whether that means
contract.
I know, but like they get to buy somebody out. That somebody gets to be able to buy. They get a one-time buyout on somebody.
No, and given his versatility and that he's been able to be deployed, I'd just say they trust him to go fill in for 10 minutes at wingback is probably fine for a low end.
Yeah, you could, by that logic, anyone can go fill out at wingback. Like, it's like he wasn't exactly good when he did it. But like, I
mean, the buyout's going to have to be Marco Angulo, right?
Unless there's a purchase option that was attached to that, and there's an obligation to buy.
All of the reports out of Ecuador is that they hate him.
Sure, but like it all depends on like what the loan agreement was when they hopefully they triggered a buy option.
Yeah.
Also, he's a U22. I mean, they have 3 U22 spots. I don't know.
Or 4, depending on
the model. Yeah, most of these players are coming back. I think the biggest question marks at this point are, do you bring Luka back? Because I think he's a good player. I think it's now an open question as to whether or not he is a good player for this team at this point. otherwise, I mean, yeah, a lot of this is set in stone already. And it's going to be tough.
This is the team.
Yeah.
What we need is a designated player striker, a genuine one, and midfield depth. If you could give me the Corey Baird and Nico Gioacchini of the midfield, I'd feel a lot better about this team right now.
Or what they need is they need another DP midfielder. Just someone creative. It doesn't even need to be a striker. They need another player on this team that is creative, because it's Lucho and nobody. It's Lucho and flashes from Yuya Kubo. Like, that's where we're at right now, is that Yuya Kubo's run over the top that draws the penalty in this game right after they go down 2-0. That's about as close as it came to anything creative or interesting runs made on this team tonight. And that's every so often. But this team is crying out for creativity. So at this point, I don't give a shit what position they play on the field, midfield or striker, just someone that's creative.
Yeah. It's got to get better.
Yeah.
We're an hour into this.
Yeah.
I think we've said about all that we're going to say on this game.
I do want to ask this question to the group from KP
please.
In the chat. If you could abduct one player from another team and add them to this team, who would it be? And I have my answer right now, because you didn't specify MLS. So I'm abducting Cole Palmer immediately from Chelsea and hoping he can score 4.5 for the FC going forward.
Ooh, Grayson, who would you abduct and add to this team?
I'll stick to MLS and I'll say Christian Benteke.
Yeah,
ooh,
good choice.
The grown-up version of Kevin Kelsey.
Here's a question right now. Who would you rather have signed in the summer window? Christian Benteke or Josh Sargent?
Benteke.
I think Josh Sargent.
Trick question. Olivier
Josh
Giroud.
Sargent will be. Think Josh Sargent would win the Golden Boot in MLS? Maybe.
No, but I also don't think Christian Benteke would if he was, coming off of another long season at like Crystal Palace or Watford or something, wherever he was at last. Like, The player I'm stealing is either Cucho or Messi, just because it would do two things at once, just to do that.
Just be fun too. It's like,
yeah,
Miami, you just want to
Lucho
shield.
and Messi.
They deliver the
have fun.
shield to Miami, but they bring Messi back. It's like, sorry, it's a 1-for-1 trade.
Chief, I have a update on the shield thing.
Yes.
Oh no, just kidding. Jeezel. They apparently did not do a award or a shield raising ceremony on the field in Columbus. Lots of people were tweeting angrily at the ISC, but just a couple of minutes ago we have the photos of the Miami locker room is celebrating with the shield that, gentlemen, we ate conies on. So
yeah, that means there's a non-zero chance that someone we know met Lionel Messi tonight.
Yeah,
Kind of cool.
I guess.
Yeah, I don't know.
Lucha met him. That's all I needed. KP also says, change the vibes. What's your highlight from this season? Man.
Scoring 6 goals at Miami or against Miami.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
6 goals against Miami was pretty sweet.
That major comeback versus NYCFC in the Leagues Cup, that was pretty swag too.
That was fun.
Remember that time we won like 9 games in a row? That was pretty cool.
That was fun.
Or we thought we were going to
playing in Champions League, playing against Monterrey, and Monterrey was fun.
That seems so long ago.
Did you know this was the season with the ref lockout?
The old third team.
Add that to the rivalry with Red Bull Arena, the deleted videotape.
That's a great point.
We are still less than a calendar year removed from the Red Bull Arena Pizzagate.
Damn.
Yeah, David
Time
Ziegler
flies.
noting winning Columbus was fun. That was fun. That was fun. That was fun. I wasn't there because I'm never going to Columbus ever again, but that was fun.
Losing at New York was fun because we got to go there.
Right. That was cool.
And
a lot of happy
people may see the away day video at some point.
Look.
Unlikely.
Look. Your boy's been very, very busy editing other videos so far this year.
It'd be a real shame if Away Days got accidentally released on the wrong channels.
You have no idea how much I'm worried about that. Like a clip mixing its way in.
The strangest ad buy in local TV news.
It's like, what happened? I thought it was B-roll footage. I'm sorry.
I mean, you could spin it. If it's just like some B-roll of New York City, you could spin it.
And then it's see what Chief happens. Asking a firefighter if he's ever heard of New York Red Bulls. A little sneak preview.
It's all really good video too. I apologize. I'm a shitty video editor. And you know what? Maybe if we had more Patreons, maybe that would. Oh, Redbeard. How could we forget Luca Orishano from 50 Plus? That was
which one?
70 plus.
Yeah, right. That was awesome. Lucho Sanders Z, Lucho goal versus Philly in the late win. That was fun.
Oh, that was a fun
game.
That was fun.
This is my city. Oh.
Not anymore, buddy. What have you done for us
Get
lately?
the hell out.
Statue construction halted.
Just like the subway. We're going to put it on the same bill to repurpose the subway when Lucho starts up again.
They got to rebuild. They got to restart building the subway, right? Like that's the dumbest thing ever. That they're looking for ideas for what to do with the subway tunnel. I don't know. Finish the fucking subway. How about that? Like, let's start there and work our way backwards.
Let's put together the proposal.
I'm into it. Anyone listening? We're gonna add another Patreon tier to restart the subway.
Just a cool $1.5 billion tier. We'll get there.
The problem is if somebody actually contributed,
our tax situation would be fucked if somebody did that.
No, I'd be a Nevis.
I don't think Costa Rica has extradition, so
into a Swiss bank, please. No, I am so upstanding, and I love this city so much. I would insist, and I would make sure that the subway got finished. That's how much I want the subway to happen.
Chief, would you settle for Elon's boring company Tesla tunnel under the city of Cincinnati?
I was about to say, Elon Musk has the chance to do the funniest thing ever. Have I talked about this theory too? Well, just since we're finishing this out here, I don't think Elon Musk is a real person.
Okay.
I think that
explain.
I think that Elon Musk on Twitter is an advanced AI chatbot that just pretends to be Elon Musk, and the real Elon Musk doesn't exist anymore. He's like fucked off to some non-extradition country. Or that like he plugged his own brain into the Neuralink and it read all of the stuff that he just would never say aloud previously. And that is now what's happening online.
Now that's what I'm in on that one.
Like, and like now he can't control it anymore. So all the stuff he was thinking in his head about what's wrong with America and who's responsible for what's wrong with America, now all that's going online to his company that he's bought.
Turns out you're good on Costa Rica. All right.
There we go.
Thank God. Chief, I'm with you on that Neuralink went too far. It's all too much.
Or conversely, that it's like a Doc Ock situation where the Neuralink has connected to Twitter and now Twitter is controlling Elon.
Were the arms in the Tobey Maguire movie, were the arms sentient before?
Yeah, they were like AI, that they were AI that controlled the arm, and then the AI started controlling Doc Ock. I think it's one of two things. I think either Elon fried his brain with the Neuralink and Twitter is now controlling Elon, or Elon does not exist any longer and it is just an Elon chatbot that is causing all of the problems online.
I like it.
Maybe Elon never existed in the first place either.
It was Mark Zuckerberg the whole time.
It was Mark Zuckerberg in a fat suit.
Oh God. All right. Grayson, give us your final thought here on this evening.
Yeah, I think the take. I think I guess not a positive note exactly, but as we've said before, the team is just cemented in third. So the result didn't really hurt our playoff standing. It didn't hurt. It's not going to have a meaningful impact on its own on the season.
Yeah.
And they got a month to figure out how to beat themselves again. And I think we talked about like vibes and talked about Pat Noonan needed to do Ted Lasso stuff to fix the locker room. These are adults, like they're grown up for the most part. I think they just need to figure out how to just, you're professionals, right? Like have some pride and figure out what you got to do.
Or settle it in the octagon.
They're better than the result. They're better than the results that they've had. There's no doubt. There's no doubt in my mind.
That's the most frustrating thing, is that there is a good team on that field and they are not playing like it and they are not getting the results like it. And it's just so disappointing.
There's still good in them. I can feel it. I can sense it.
If we can save them.
Yes. Their name is the FC. That's the name of their true self. They've only forgotten it.
They've earned the C. They need to earn it back.
So,
Chief, how about you end this for us?
Can I even say this now? That our rivalry has been canceled by the intelligentsia?
Not according to American Soccer Analysis.
Yeah,
what horseshit?
American Soccer Analysis says nay. And are we even ending right now, or are we recording a preview of yet another match coming up on Saturday?
Oh shit! It's Wednesday. We're going to lose to Orlando 2-1.
Yeah, well, let's do it right now. Chief, what's your prediction?
We're going to draw 1-1.
I keep predicting wins, so I'm going to say we lose 4-1, and there is a proper crisis.
I mean, this isn't a crisis right now.
I mean, 3-2 for all the
not a crisis.
I mean, even if they lose, it's not a crisis. It's like, oh wow, we fell out of third place into third place.
David Ziegler.
Maybe they'd be playing harder if they had pro rel.
Maybe.
I mean, FCC2 might be FCC1 right now. FCC2 is on a tear, getting call-ups for the Venezuelan senior national team.
Who knew?
Sanders Z makes a good point that there is 2 weeks off after Orlando for everybody but Miles. So
good on Miles too. Mauricio Pochettino, an actual evaluator of European talent. There you go.
Likes what he sees.
I'd be curious to know what his thoughts were if Matt Miazga was healthy and playing well, but that's a timeline we just don't live in, sadly.
Hopefully
it turns out that Pochettino likes a lot of the same things that Berhalter does.
Who knew? Maybe the real Greg was the friends we made along the way.
Yeah, but Pochettino's like the cool stepdad now, so it's all right.
What are we gonna do in the week off?
Well, some of us are gonna have to put together and plan our actual live show at Streetside on Decision Day. Come on out. It's kicking off at 4:00, a couple hours before Decision Day kicks off at 6. Join us.
4:00.
Planning on doing some games is my plan. I want there to be prizes. I want there to be a guest. It's going to be exciting.
And we may, in fact, have a huge announcement at this show.
Oh, fingers crossed.
I don't know. Even if we don't, I just like saying that there might be a huge announcement.
There could be.
There could be, or there might not be. Who's to say? You'll have to be there to find out.
So there you go. We caught up on FCC news. We predicted the Orlando match. All right, Chief. Now I think we can officially kill this thing off.
Go fuck yourself, San Diego.